folks, welcome to Follow the Leader, a podcast focused on telling character-driven stories through the use of GM-less tabletop games where we can all take the lead. You can find us on Tumblr at FTLcast and at FTLcast.com. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/FTLcast. Today we're playing Protocol by Jim Pinto and Post World Games. For those of you who are new to this game, here are the basics. Protocol is a series of story role-playing games that thrust characters into dramatic situations. Each game uses the same set of rules with vastly different parameters, start points, characters, and finales. Players take on the roles of directors outside the action and characters inside the action, using the ebb and flow of 4 different scene framing styles, vignettes, interrogations, interludes, and ensembles to tell meaningful stories about characters in crisis. Today we will be using a custom playset that is set in the city of Gulls. Yes, this is our follow-up arc to Arc 90. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do the summary, but also you should probably go back and listen to that arc before you listen to the rest of these episodes. I'm Mac. You can find me on Tumblr at Citadel of Swords, on Bluesky at Citadel of Swords, and on projects that will be forthcoming. This episode's coming out in 2025? Or is it coming out in December? I don't actually know.
This episode will be coming out in December.
Okay, great. So you can hear me on some projects that will be forthcoming in 2025, which is very, 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 very close to now. When you are listening to these arcs, I've got some stuff that I've been cooking for the last year or so, and I'm excited to finally put them in front of people. I use they them pronouns unless it is funnier for you to use a different pronoun to refer to me, in which case do so. I'm joined today by Schrag.
Hi, I'm Schrag. You can find me on many platforms at Secret Frog or The Secret Frog more often. I use he, him pronouns. I will also happily commit to the bit.
Yes. August?
Hello, I'm August. You can find me on Tumblr at Strange Harpy, on Bluesky at Harpydora. My pronouns are they, them. I am a dour, humorless person, so do not commit to the bit for me.
My good friend Zachary Fredrickson.
Hello, my name is Zachary Fredrickson. I am found on the internet at ObscureGod on Twitter, ZacharyOlson.bsky.social, I guess on Bluesky, which I'm using more these days. And music at IamBugbear.bandcamp.com. I use he and pronouns. Do what you want.
And last but not least, the entity known as Jade.
Hello, I am the entity known as Jade, occasionally answering to Coda. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me most places on the internet at Jade Oxford Rose, including the aforementioned Bluesky. And you can hear me on Sagas of the Sunless Reach, which you should absolutely check out, the Dark Fantasy Pathfinder actual play that Zach GMs, that I play in with Corey, former cast member Mab, and our good friend Bitmap, as Zach tortures me personally with a mystery that I don't have all the answers to yet. It is very frustrating. I am also open to relationships with the bit.
Fantastic. Our lines, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, violence against children and animals, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, plagues, and pandemics. Our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but we'll just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. Now that we've got all that, let's, we're not going to get started yet because we do have to summarize what happened last time.
But this is where the theme will go.
But this is where the theme will go. And then after that, we'll get started. Theme time. Woo!
Woo! So, previously on Follow the Leader, we had several people come to the cozy little town known as the City of Gulls. We had a traveler from beyond the ocean, Juniper. We had 2 robots, Keys and XV, and they met some colorful folks in the form of Rascal and Marius. As
one more colorful than the other.
maybe just a smidge. Colorful in their own ways. Colorful in their own ways.
One's a more muted palette filled with hues. One is deeply saturated.
Yeah. Yeah. We discovered that XV is haunted by the ghost of a gentleman named Edward, who was also a mage of Anukar. What's the right word? We were introduced to the concept of Juniper as Rascal's rival, who has indirectly challenged Rascal to find a way to the place that Juniper is from, which she is strongly warding against, but unfortunately there is no stopping the force that is Rascal.
Zephyr and Edward had a conversation. There's been lots of conversations of the metaphysical variety. People reckoning with what they are or where they are or what is happening. Juniper's out here being very meta in all senses, laughing at people insisting that death is gone and there are no gods, and it's very fun. I like being genre savvy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do actually want Juniper to meet Annabelle, because I think that Juniper would really get a kick out of a ghost telling her that ghosts aren't real.
One above.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, we had a scene in the place where the temple you can only see in the dark was. And something is still meh. It's weird.
Yep.
City of Gulls is just weird all the way down.
City of Gulls?
Let's be real.
Weird. I suppose I should offer up that Sky is also available as an NPC if anybody wants to talk to them.
Bro. Okay, I think the turn order that we had last time was the character list in the dock.
We started with the robots.
Oh, we started with both of the robots. Okay.
Yes.
Because we made Schrag.
I know that I was first.
I was going to say, I wasn't sure if we've made Schrag go first. As is...
No, it was me.
Yeah, we went in the order in the dock, which was a source of confusion at first last time too, so...
Alright.
Yeah.
So turn order is Mac, August, me, Schrag, then Zach.
Okay, I'm going to draw 2 cards. 6 of clubs and 3 of spades. And now begins my, I have to click in every single tab before I find the one that I'm looking for some godforsaken reason. Clubs is a vignette. God fucking damn it. I knew this was going to happen if I wasn't careful.
You can always use the you can use the second card for the scene set and use the...
I can't. I mean, I can, but it'll turn into an ensemble scene. Which is like fine, I guess. I mean, I have to do that actually because an interlude is characters with an existing relationship, and Keys and Rascal don't have an existing relationship. So ensemble time, baby. So I'm gonna flip these. Okay, so 3 of spades will be the scene type, which is spades and ensemble, and 3 metamorphosis. Great, awesome. Killing it. And then I should stop drinking this lemonade because it's very loud, because it's got a bunch of ice in it. Clubs in the wilds deep and dark. And great, perfect, exactly what I was hoping for. And 6 safe only for a moment. Awesome! That rules, actually. That's great. I'm Alright, so this is an ensemble scene, so technically all of us are here. But it's a matter of whether or not... specifically, I'm gonna roll with that still. I want this scene to take place in the tunnels underneath the city, because that's where Keys is.
Okay.
How and why other people are there is besides the point, but that's where Keys is. Because Keys is... Should we do a round of character introductions, actually, just to remind people who we're all playing?
Might not hurt. Was this going to be... Did you say this is an ensemble?
Mm-hmm.
This is an ensemble, yeah.
Well, if we're all going to be there, we can introduce ourselves as we arrive.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so I'm playing Keys. It uses it or she pronouns. We've also thrown they, them into the mix. Whatever. I don't think that Keys really cares, which is, like, absolutely the prerogative of some people who... Keys has no relationship to gender whatsoever. I think that the last time, when Keys entered the city, it was, like... It's a robot, but it's like a robot that kind of looks like bulky, like almost armor-like in some ways. I think that it has like shed a lot of that, revealing that it is still metal underneath, like mostly metal, still, and is wearing like pants and a long coat that has a lot of pockets in it. And it is kind of like walking along these tunnels with like one hand against the stone. Like kind of just walking, I think, until it reaches a point where it can like sit down and kind of I guess study what's happening around it. And then it like pulls a like battered journal out of its jacket pocket and starts scribbling some notes down.
Okay. And I think we see some eyes glittering in the darkness, you know, the way that eyes do, cat eyes do when a little bit of light hits them at the right angle. As Rascal is creeping along the tracks, if there's like something higher, like the creep along, he would be creeping along that. He can't exactly cling to the ceiling, but he's like Stàülking. He is.
I'm just picturing this is the phonetic spelling of that pronunciation of stalking, and it's bringing me so much joy.
He's Stàülking. And yeah, so he's this he's this big old cat man critter wearing like flowy shirts and pantaloons or like breeches, no shoes. Sometimes he has like a sword or like just random weapons that he likes, but he doesn't really need them. So for this sneaking mission, he has divested himself, and so he's just padding along on his little paw pads. He looks like an anthropomorphic Norwegian forest cat with a big fluffy, feather duster tail.
Mm.
And he says, "Lurking in the tunnels, engaging in strange rituals, are we?"
Well, I wouldn't call myself a witch exactly. It's not rituals. I mean, I guess it's kind of rituals. It's not. Well, I don't think Keys even like blinked. Like, it's just like, yeah, okay. There's somebody else here now. Like, I've known you were there the whole time.
No, I was super quiet.
No. Oh, little one.
Well, you said a thing the other day that was very strange, and then I got sidetracked with some other stuff, but now I have promised to Miss Juniper that I will not go into, like, hell or something, And so I can now apply my great analytical mind towards you and your secrets, and you will tell them to me.
Sure. What do you want to know?
What's up with you?
Oh, a lot of things. You're going to have to be a little more specific.
All of them. What are you writing there?
Oh, these are my notes. My travel notes.
Travel notes. Rascal is now like just on. Did you say you were sitting on something?
Yeah, I think there's like a rock or not exactly an outcropping, but there's like, or actually, it like the viewer would probably like see like it's reminiscent of like a subway platform.
Sure.
And I think that it is like sitting like on the edge of the platform, like legs dangling, like with the journal, and it will like swivel around to like lay the journal on the ground in front of them so that Rascal can see more clearly what it is doing.
Yeah. Rascal will spring up towards onto the platform and kind of perch and look at it.
It looks kind of like, I mean, it is this very battered, like, leather journal. There's a lot of, like, notes written in the margins and, like, pictures drawn. Like, I think that there is, like, like, in the later pages, there is, like, a sketch of the gate that Keys entered through at the very beginning of last arc. I think there's also a sketch of the rib cage. The tall boy's rib cage. That's like it's a little roughshod, but and I think Keys says, so my memory is a little strange. So I have to use I have to write down everything that I see so that I know for certain that these are my memories. But even some of these, I'm not 100% sure. She kind of giggles and she like kind of flips through earlier pages. And there are notes from outside of the city of Gulls. There's notes from the carnivorous forest. There's notes from walking along the banks of the river. There's what weirdly looks like a train schedule. And some other things, and notes written in the margins. And Zach, I want to ask you this, because I was thinking a little bit about it, and I think it would be more fun to have something come from you. What would be something that Rascal could potentially recognize as something Keltonite-ish?
In terms of like architecture or in terms of like language?
Either or. I mean, the rib, I think that there are sketches of some of the other fallen Keltonites that we know are scattered around the areas around the city of Gulls. So, like, he'd definitely see those, but I think a language thing is a little bit more interesting as a, like, well, anyone can see these great beings that look now like fallen statues, but who actually knows the things that they said?
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, so we'll say there's like a bit, maybe there's like you open the sketch and there's one of those like a sword just like stabbed through the ground. And maybe this huge sword that like maybe like a village has sprung up around or something, and like a more bones kind of around it, and there's like maybe like a sign on like words on the sword inscribed. And Rascal goes, "Oh, I know that."
Oh, you do?
Yes, it says Ba'at Shak. It means no further.
I think he is like blinks at him and is like, how do you spell that? And she, like, digs up another pencil.
I don't know. I mean, you spell it like that. It's on the sword.
Oh, well, yeah, duh. That's Mac being stupid. I'm gonna let her say that because it's funny.
Yeah. If you tried to let her say that's Mac being stupid.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Let her say, how do you spell that?
No,
Okay.
I'm letting her say, how do you spell that? Because I think it's funny.
Yeah. I mean, and I do think if you're like, well, how would you spell it in normal letters? He would also say, I don't know.
Okay.
Rascal does not understand he understands the language. He does not know the language.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And she kind of like blinks. She goes, I don't think we've been introduced.
I think at this point, you hear from a little further down the tunnel, Rascal? Rascal, where are you?
I'm investigating and translating and stuff. I'm Rascal the Brave. I am the coolest and the strongest, the hero of the City of Gulls, by the way. I'm saying all of this very quickly because Marius is about to say some other stuff.
I think Keys, like, smiles, and it does look very strange because most of its face is metal, but it is capable of smiling, and it is like, well, it's very nice to meet you, Rascal the Brave. And presumably, Marius comes.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes. I am playing Marius Thank the Gods for Small Favors, a kind of dour and humorless, much like me, person with kind of long brown hair kept up in an elaborate braid, and robes denoting their status as last living mage of Anukar. And they're coming up kind of breathless, and they're like, oh, thank the gods, I was concerned that you'd left.
For small favors?
What left, like where? Like what, huh?
We had an appointment earlier and you didn't show up. I was concerned that you'd gone about your business leaving the city.
Oh, yes. Well, no, I was I got distracted. I was proving a point to somebody, and then it got kind of emotional, and so I was like, F this. And so I was kind of just wandering around, and then I found, Marius, I have found a travel logger.
I think if Rascal were to look back at the travel diary, Keys has like flipped back to the page that it was writing on, and at the top it had like Rascal can see pretty clearly that it did say Rieskull, which would be Riesgull, and it has crossed that out one line through and written City of Gulls, and underneath it is annotated not yet ?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Marius, I have found an temporally anachronistic travelogue.
Ah, I see. Marius kind of looks at Keys appraisingly and is just like, well, if you are a traveler out of time, perhaps you can answer some questions.
Well, I'm not exactly. I wouldn't say. It's more complicated than out of time, but I'll answer some questions.
There's no point in resisting. We will get our answers.
You don't have to try very hard.
I will employ all of my great and powerful interrogation techniques.
You can save those for somebody else.
Ha!
I can just tell you what I know. At this point.
Yeah. The opposite of Rascal shows up, having been just slightly behind Marius. very steady, guileless steps of mechanical footsteps as XV approaches, having just followed the professor, who was the science licensing agent, as they were described, to XV.
Yeah, I don't think XV has gotten that license yet either. So
Marius, you're kind of neglecting your duties. You gotta give this guy a license.
there are other more important things.
I think Keys waves at XV.
Have your travels brought you through Anukar?
Oh, and I think, like, Keys thinks about this, and then, like, ends up, like goes back to the journal and, like, flips through it, and the pages about Anakarib are at, like, the very beginning of this journal. And, like, halfway through, in the way of, like, I finished one journal in the middle of this trip and had to start a new one.
Mm.
And Keys looks up and says, yes, I have.
Do you perhaps have information how a creation such as experimental verisimilitude could have survived what happened?
Oh, I mean, maybe. I'm not really very much like the mages of Anukar are.
Well, there's this one right here. This guy, Marius, they are mages of Anukar.
Oh, well, I mean, I have all these notes, and possibly, and I think that he's, like, reaches, like, to, like, kind of, like, pats along the back of their... I don't remember if I ever determined where, this is, but I'm gonna say, like, back of their neck, and, like, I think Keys is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, right now. I might. I just wouldn't know. So, you're more than welcome to look through my notes, and if you have something that can access my memories, you're more than welcome to those too, but, that one's trickier.
I see.
Rascal's eyes are just wide open, kind of looking back.
I have a question, actually. As long as I have you here. You've been here for a long time, right, Professor Marius?
Oh, okay.
Marius nods. I've been here for a while, yes.
And I think that Keys, like, points down, like, the dark tunnel. It's like, when was the last time a train came through?
Let me flip a coin. Wait, why am I doing it in dice stuff?
Marius knows what a train is.
That's also a very good question. Does Marius know what a train is?
That was one of the things I was flipping a coin for, and it came up that Marius does not know what a train is.
Great.
I think that they look puzzled, and they say, there hasn't been any activity in these tunnels for a while, though whatever a train is, I cannot say for sure.
This guy doesn't know what a train is.
I think at that moment, a light, where Keys pointed, a light appears, a round circular light, as my character has looped in from the other direction and is, like, had maybe been hearing the conversation a little bit. And as she arrives at this platform where y'all are, Juniper, being a human woman who looks to be in maybe her late 60s, early 70s, but real good shape, still grey hair, dressed very practically in an outfit that would look pretty contemporary. It's not. It sits at odds with the more sort of fantastical appearance of everyone else here.
Mm.
And as she appears, looking at you, just like, I swear, if I didn't know better, I'd say I was in the fucking subway.
I think we have to cut the scene there.
Beautiful.
Sorry to immediately cut it off right as Juniper arrives, but I can't think of a better closing for that scene. That's so good. Fuck.
Juniper in life has spent a decent chunk of life in New York, so as well as spent a lot of time in San Francisco, but definitely did a chunk of time in New York. All right.
Your tour duty in New York.
New York. Well, she was a big activist in her day, so you know the big cities. August.
Yep. 5 of hearts and a 2 of clubs. Hearts, interlude. 5, the rattling of old bones. And let's see. Yeah, I think I want an interlude, which is 2 players with a previously established relationships. Relationship drama points are given to players not in the scene. So, Mac, you can finally get another drama point.
Yay!
And the location is the 2 of clubs. So, clubs in the wilds, deep and dark, and 2 bound in ivy, wreathed in heather. Schrag, I know uric acid is a real thing. Is thaumasite a real thing?
It is. I was trying to find a thing that wasn't, and it turns out it is.
Oh. So
I was gonna say, I also Googled it and was like, hey.
That's a real thing.
I was trying to go for, like, just magic mineral.
Okay, yeah.
I do have an idea for where.
Well, because your thaumasite is with a C, and this thaumasite is with an S. Obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I bothered to make either of these real things.
Well, I mean, it's fun to have the mix.
I was wondering if this was some, like, big brain, like, genius bonus. This is actually the experiment that XV is trying to do.
Well, I was thinking that we could be out in the wilderness looking for thaumasite together. Marius and XV. This is a bit later. Marius still hasn't given XV a science license, but is at least trying to be helpful. So, that was my idea. Schrag, does that jive with you?
So I was actually going to suggest that XV is testing the local area for whether it can grow honeyberries.
Ooh.
I have a sample I need to replace.
I like that idea a lot.
See, I was just going to say that for fun, XV had chipped off some sample of stone from the inside of one of the tunnels, and that was thaumasite.
That works. So yeah, so we're scouting for an appropriate place to potentially grow honeyberries.
Mm-hmm. Testing the soil, pH level.
Yeah.
Behavior of the local flora.
Yeah, so Marius is kind of looking at XV and is just like, what did you need the honeyberry wine for?
Many of my few remaining experiments have to do with the behavior of magical adjacent substances and their exposure to various magical effects and frequencies. Honeyberry wine being a major product of Onakar, and having quite a bit of exposure to the magic inherent in the region due to the extensive use of it. There may be some inherent reactivity.
I see. And no other alcoholic substance will suffice. It has to be honeyberries.
My list of ingredients is quite specific on this point.
Of course it was.
I am only supposed to perform the experiments in the way that Chloe wanted them done.
She was very specific. I will give you that. All right. This just means that it will extend your tenure here somewhat while we wait for the berries to grow and while you wait for them to ferment. And Marius is looking a little awkward, like in a way that they don't normally. Like usually when it comes to, doing, magical science, they are pretty self-assured, but in this particular instance, they're looking a little unsure of what to say or do. They're trying to help, but they're not sure. They're not sure exactly how they should be acting in this situation.
And I feel like the reaction is just a reminder at how not human XV is. XV is definitely not the more anthropomorphized emotional character that Keys is. XV was built for a specific purpose, happens to be haunted by the Lost Mage Vadakar, but it doesn't really have hopes or feelings of its own. It just has a job. And so it's just kind of placid at this point being made and just kind of waves it off as, I will continue with my experimentation until it is finished, or until I am no longer able to function. Where else would I go?
I suppose that answers the question of whether or not Chloe imbued you with your own drive, which is fine. And this pause is in character as Marius kind of closes their eyes and tries to collect their thoughts.
My understanding from my specifications is that she wished that for me. That may have been an addition to future models, had they existed. I feel like at this point, perhaps the camera kind of zooms in on a rune at the back of XV's neck. Just in the same way as a golem has a rune that imbues it with life. This is the purpose behind XV. It's just one very simple character.
I don't think that I can continue Chloe's work on that particular aspect of you, but I can help you continue Chloe's work and as far as the experimentation is concerned. Once we get things set up for this particular experiment, we can further discuss your so-called science license. And I think in this moment, Marius, kind of looks at XV almost pityingly, and they draw a little sigil in the air with their hand, and kind of in a seemingly incongruent sonorous tone, they say, "Knowledge is of less import than the secrets of lovers. I summon you." And it's entirely up to you whether or not this works, but this is Marius taking their best guess at Edward's summoning name.
So I think what happens is that previously, when Edward had taken over XV to speak through it, in a sense, it was a very ramshackle and destructive process. Like, XV started smoking, sparking, stuttering. I think this summoning makes it a lot smoother. There's kind of a change in XV's stance. I feel like there's something almost biological in just like the little micro movements that it is making as Edward, Empty Parks, and Spring, the lost Mage Vonakar comes to the fore.
And Marius looks so fucking smug.
Ugh.
Uh-huh.
Of course they do. I do want to know how Ed.
Yeah, Marius has now done this twice.
Yeah, I do want to know, like, with what Edward's reaction is to effectively having him forcefully pulled somewhere. Like,
Yeah, that's... I am keenly interested in Edward's reaction to this, too.
Yeah, you can kind of tell from the quote-unquote body language. If XV were capable of it, it would be crying at this point. That was the closest I have felt in so many years, feeling like I was being touched by somebody else.
Oh, buddy. Shit. God damn it.
Oh.
Well, goddamn, you managed to pull it off.
As much as we don't see eye to eye much of the time, I do feel as though we know each other fairly well. And in that knowledge, I was hoping to be able to find a piece of you that we could use as leverage to release you from this. And Marius gestures to XV.
You know, I wouldn't have trusted you before. But you've managed to survive this long. And do this much. Hell, if anyone's gonna be able to pull it off, it's you.
Shall we end the scene there?
Yeah.
Alright, everybody take your drama point if you haven't already.
oh, I did.
Already did.
To be continued.